I'd like to briefly review what I talked about gender appearance in the fairy tales. Traditionally in the fairy tales, the agency of ego is personified as male, and the agency of soul is personified as female. This is not necessary, though, as long as the description of the agencies that I have laid out, can be seen. For instance, of course, the ego agency I have described as journeying to learn. So the gender appearance of any personification of that journeying to learn could be male or female, just as the gender appearance of the personification of the soul, which is learning to journey, could be female or male. So this traditional prescription of union with an oppositely presenting agency is not necessary. Only what needs to be in opposition is that the union is between the agency that is personified as ego journeying to learn, and so learning to journey. Now to proceed, in the second grade, you have a impulse emergence of consciousness for the succeeding year, third grade, that is pictured as a union with a supernatural agency like God. And this is actually the child's incarnating being and astral waking. That is, the child is feeling more separate from the spiritual world, and in longing or feeling a loss to that, wants to reunite, and therefore in the imagination has a picture of this supernatural agency that it wants to connect with. Now, and the saint stories are typical of stories that picture this emergent consciousness for the succeeding year. Now, as a result of the first grade union between the ego and soul, we have an inwardly wakeful child, one who now can consciously participate in picture thinking. They're on a learning to journey to outward dreaminess. So the second year, the picture which is presented for what is coming into the next year is now not journeying to learn, but learning to journey, of soul agency, to produce an outward dreaminess for the capacities it needs in the next year. Now, this outward dreaminess is sort of like being in the Garden of Eden, feeling oneself separate from the outside world, but feeling that the outside world is still very much good and provides for what you need. Now, the cognitive capacity of the second grade is analysis, which has arisen from the sense of well-being and the perception of wholeness. This cognitive analysis allows the child to take what is in its memory about language that it has learned, and now to be able to begin to encode and decode. It also can take the wholeness of number sense and begin to be able to carry out the more complex arithmetic operations. And so this second grade year, we see that the children are living in a world that is good. They experience this separation from their spiritual life and have a longing for it. And this longing can manifest as a striving toward excellence, as we see in the saint stories.